All right, let's move along here to our next caller. Again, we're doing 4 calls here today. And this is going to be a non-hand call, and I am rolling the dice here with this one because I looked at it. It was a little bit hard to follow, so I'm hoping that we can get a good explanation here from the caller. And I do not have the caller's name, but Reputable Reception, you're up next. Hello.
Hey Bart, how are you doing today?
Hi. Do you care to give your name?
Yes, my name is Dan, actually.
Okay, Dan. So where do you want to tell me where this is played out of, or?
Yes, this was played at the Best Bet Casino in Jacksonville,
Oh,
Florida.
okay. Well, I know it well. So Dan is calling from Jacksonville, Best Bet, and this was at a small stakes game. Is that right?
Yes, this was a 2-2 hold'em game. I was just waiting for a PLO seat,
Oh, okay.
and it was just late at night, shorthanded. I think it was like 4 people at the table.
Well, Dan, I don't know if you ever. I always say that some of the best small stakes games in the country are at Jacksonville Best Bet, and you can just look at their live stream. There aren't a whole lot of people that watch their live stream. I can just tell by the views. I take a lot of content from it, but if you ever have the opportunity, and they play small games on the live stream. So,
Oh yeah, they do. Like I live in Texas. I was just visiting a friend here, and he plays there regularly. I'm primarily a PLO player. I heard the 1-2 PLO is really good there.
okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what I was on the wait list for that game, and while I was on the wait list, I was just playing some hold'em.
All right. So tell us what happened here.
So the results of the hand are not too relevant to the story.
Okay.
What happened was I had about 150 in a 2-2 game. The villain had about, well, he had me covered. Like he had like 400 or 500.
Okay.
So this villain, he was drunk at the time, and he was doing all kinds of wacky things. He was opening for 40, 45, stuff like that. And so in this particular hand, he opens for about 45 from like we were four-handed. He was under the gun. I was next to act, and we had the 2 blinds.
All right. So villain opens to like 45, like four-handed. Okay. Yeah.
And I looked down at Ace King offsuit.
Sounds like a jam, Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, he's open to 45, so you jam Ace King offsuit. Okay. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
The blinds fold. Gets back to him. He's taking forever with pretty much every decision. He ends up calling, and the dealer runs out the board. It's only one time in that casino. There's no
Yeah. At the small stakes, they're not going to usually let you run it. Right.
Yes, in the 5-5 PLO. They ask the players.
Right. 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 Mm-hmm.
So what happened was as soon as the dealer dealt the board all 5 cards,
Uh-huh.
and he called me, so I turned my hand over, Ace King offsuit. There was no ace or king on the board.
All right. So you didn't get like you have no pair. You have the nut no pair. It's like,
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
XX. I'll just put it up. I'll just the
I
board.
don't remember the board
It doesn't matter.
exactly. It does not matter.
So the board doesn't have an ace or a king on it. Okay.
Correct. And I turned my hand over, and then I'm waiting for him to, either mug or turn his hand over or do something. And then he proceeds to ask the dealer, "Hey, can you turn my card over?" The dealer says no. And then,
Wait a minute. So his 2 cards are face down.
yes,
He asked the dealer to turn his hand over. Is that because
yes.
do you think he's trying to slow roll you, or he's just so drunk he can't turn his hand over?
So this gentleman, he doesn't speak English all that much, and he's quite drunk, and I've never played with him, so I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to do, to be honest.
Oh,
He, I don't think he was slow rolling. Maybe he didn't even look at his hand. I'm not entirely sure about that.
okay.
So the dealer says, "No, I can't flip your hand over."
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he heard the dealer say that. Then he proceeds to push the cards face down past the betting line. I don't know if they enforce a hard betting line, but there is like a physical line drawn on the felt.
Usually I don't even actually know. I mean, there must be some places where that line means something, but it's usually just a guide. Okay. So he asked the dealer to turn his hand over. Dealer says no. And then it seems to me like he's just mucking his hand. He's pushing his cards face down, right, towards the dealer.
From where I was sitting, that's exactly what it looked like. He pushed the cards face down towards the dealer,
Yep.
and then he let go of his cards.
Okay.
As soon as he's done that, I immediately think I already won the hand. So I tipped the dealer a little $2 chip or whatever, And then the dealer grabs the cards that were face down, and he's about to put it in the muck.
Yeah.
As he's about to put it in the muck, the villain, he freaks out. He's like, no, no, no. And then he grabs the dealer's arm, and the dealer's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you pulling my arm? And then the dealer drops the card with the arm pulling. And as he drops the card, they land face up. And he has the winning hand. He had ace four, and there was a four on the board.
Okay. So he's really drunk. Looks like he's kind of muck his hand. The dealer grabs his cards, but then he's like, wait a minute, turn those cards over. He grabs the dealer's arm and the cards turn
He did not
over.
physically table his hand, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
He did not physically table his own hand.
Right. And turns over as ace four. And then what did you do? You called the floor?
Yes, I immediately told the dealer to call the floor.
Yeah.
And the dealer calls the floor. As the floor comes over, the dealer's kind of explaining to the floor what's going on, and he's kind of whispering, so I can't hear what he's saying exactly. And the drunk guy's kind of yelling and upset. No, he's like, no, this I should win the pot or whatever. He's yelling. I'm not sure what he's saying. He's speaking like broken English and his native language. As this is going on,
what language does that appear to be, by the way?
I'm not. He looked of Asian descent, like Korean descent.
Okay.
So
I was for some reason I was thinking in Miami. It could have been. I forgot it was Jacksonville. It was like French. It's the guy, Haitian,
no, I
Cuban.
speak a little bit of French and Spanish. So if it was French and Spanish, I would have been able to tell.
Okay. So all right, go on. So what does the floor end up ruling?
So the floor rules that the card did not physically touch the muck, so the hand is still live. That's what the floor says. So
okay.
Go on. Were you saying something?
Yeah. No. I was going to give you my take, but you can add whatever. But you didn't agree with the ruling.
Not exactly. So there's a little bit more to it, to what happened. So the floor rules that the cards did not physically reach the muck, so the hand is still live.
Yep.
So the floor asked the dealer to give the cards back to the villain.
Okay.
So the dealer gives the cards back to the villain face down, and it's in front of his chips right now.
Okay.
And the guy still doesn't know what's going on. He gets upset and pissed, and he goes to the smoke room. And he's just gone from the table. He just went to the smoke room. The floor's next to the dealer. I'm sitting there waiting for something.
So if I'm interpreting this correctly, even though the card sort of turned over, it sounds to me like the player, in this room at least, the player actually has to physically table his hand. So the floor is ruling that the hand is not dead. They gave the guy his hand back face down because he never turned it up, right? But the guy's so drunk, he doesn't know what's going on. So now he's walked away from the table.
Yeah, he's upset. I think he thought that he lost the hand.
Yeah.
And he got upset, and he just pulled out a cigarette and just went to the smoke room. And at that point, I told the floor. So he just left the table, and he already kind of mucked his hand once. Now he's left the table. If that's not a dead hand, then I don't know what is. And the floor is kind of just giving me a blank look, like he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to take responsibility for much. He's just giving me sort of a blank look. So I'm just still waiting on, he's still in the smoke room. And at this point, the dealer tells the floor that the hand was tabled at one point. And floor rules, okay, if the hand was tabled, then I guess it's a tabled hand. So then you have to award him the pot. And I was like,
tabled because the guy, because when he grabbed the guy's arm, it fell out of the guy's arm face up.
Yes, the dealer, when he grabbed the cards and he was about to put in the muck, the villain pulled the dealer's arm. The cards dropped from the dealer's arm and it landed face up.
Wow, that's a new one. I got to tell you, that's totally interesting.
Yes, that's why I've never had that ever.
Well, because I was going to say, like, when I always think of the definition of tabled as, we talk about tabled, and I've gone through this many, many times because I play a lot of split pot games, and you have people that will pipe in because somebody's holding their hand up and they don't see a low, and someone says, "Oh, you got a low," and like that's very not kosher, right? Because tabled means you got to put your hand face up, you got to turn your hand over on the table. This is a situation where the guy actually has never done that, but the cards have been sort of accidentally exposed face up. So I suppose if the definition of tabled is that the player actually has to physically turn the hand over himself, like the player has to turn the cards over face up on the table, then you have a strong case that the hand is never really tabled. I will go back to just the beginning of this. I actually think that their ruling is correct in the beginning. That shouldn't really be a dead hand. Now, people can say, here's the thing, it's partially the dealer's fault in the sense that, I mean, if the guy stopped the dealer really quickly, there's nothing the dealer can do about it. Where I've seen is that one of the dealer's main priorities in a case like this is if somebody is mucking their hand, take the hand and put it in the muck. So I've seen situations where the dealer has sort of nonchalantly gone about doing that, or has not put the hand in the muck when it's supposed to be in the muck, and people will get very, very angry because if someone's going to muck their hand, right? Sounds to me like in this case, he kind of stopped the dealer. So I think most places are going to rule that live, unless there is a specific rule in a card club that says if someone's going to turn their hand in, muck it, and it crosses the line, then therefore it's dead. That would be a very exceptional rule that is not common. I think most places would deem this hand retrievable because it was never in the muck and the guy stopped the dealer. The weird part about this, though, is that they give the cards back to the guy and then he just walks away. And at some point you have to say, well, he doesn't have an infinite amount of time to table the hand. I would figure the floor would just give him a mental countdown and say, all right, that hand is dead. Then that's what I thought you were going to say. But then you have this little added quirk where the dealer's like, well, the hands were actually turned over. Did you tell the floor guy that the opponent actually didn't turn over his hand, that it just fell out of the dealer's hand?
I did, but this was after the floor already made his ruling and awarded him the pot. The floor kind of saw that I was upset about it, and he pulled me to the side and he explained to me that, listen, the cards never reached the muck, so they're still live. But my argument to the floor was that the man had two opportunities to like turn over his hand, like table his hand.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, he didn't take any of them.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So James Conboy says in the live chat, if his hand is ruled tabled, then the pot should be awarded to the winning hand. That part of that's true. I've just actually never heard of a situation here before that questions what is the action of tabling. Like, does somebody actually have to turn over their hand? Like in this particular case, the hand was retrievable, and
I totally understand that the hand was retrievable. You can give him his card back and give him another opportunity to table his hand properly. I would totally understand that. But as soon as we gave him his cards back, I guess it's kind of not his fault that he doesn't speak English and he didn't realize that the floor is giving him another chance to turn his hand over.
Yeah.
He probably thought that he lost the pot and he got upset and went to the smoke room. But
I mean, here's the thing, Dan, that I'm going to say again. It's a very strange situation in terms of like rule-based things. For me personally, I mean, I don't know if you play for fun, you're a recreational player. It's up to you how you want to handle this. Personally, I would just not think twice and just give the guy the pot. These types of things don't get me bent out of shape. Like the whole thing about, and I always point to this whole, I always point to this example. Like there was some stupid rule in some clubs where if like one of your cards, gets knocked off the table somehow, like it's automatically dead, which I think is just so dumb because sometimes when you go to flip over your hand, like it catches an edge. And people have said, well, what would you do in that case? And I said, I would probably give the guy the pot, even if the hand was dead. That's how I would handle this situation. It's just an interesting situation because I've never heard of this one before. I don't know if the dealer is out of line necessarily for saying that. And I don't know what the definition of tabling is, because you wouldn't think, like, when would this ever come up? When would somebody else, like, say, for example, like, they didn't rule it, the dealer didn't say anything. Let's say, I'll just give you an example. Let's say the dealer didn't say anything, and they gave the guy his hand back, and he walked away. And then someone else flipped his cards over. Is that tabled?
That's interesting.
I don't know.
That's the thing with that hand. There's so many interesting things that almost never happen, like the arm pulling, the dealer saying the hand was tabled at some point. there's so many things that are like, that you never see. Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I do play a lot of poker. It's like semi-professionally, but primarily PLO.
Yeah, then I wouldn't get bent out of shape. I mean, these are the types of guys that you want in the game. I mean, it might seem weird because you're never going to play with this guy again because you were just playing like in Hold'em, and maybe he never plays in PLO. But if you're trying to play somewhat professionally, like in a long-term sense, even if you're never going to see this guy again, you want to give the recreational players like kind of like a fair shake. And I don't know if that's necessarily what I'm saying, because you haven't necessarily done anything wrong, but it's just one of these things where it's like, all right, well, we know the guy had the best hand. The mechanics of whether or not
Right.
it was tabled properly, we don't want to worry about that one. But it's a very interesting situation because I don't know the answer.
No, I wasn't upset at the
Yeah,
villain at all. I mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
things happen. I was just the only thing I was upset about was the floor. He couldn't answer my questions properly, and I was like, what about his second chance he had to table his hand, and he just walked out.
yeah.
That was my only argument with the floor. I mean, I totally understand his ruling of the hand is retrievable, it's not dead. I totally get that.
Yep.
It's just the second time when he got his hand back, and he walked out and went to the smoke room. That's when the deal.
I get it, but then again, Dan, I mean, just to wrap this up though, it's pretty obvious he didn't really know what was going on. Maybe English wasn't his first language, so you
Yeah, like
kind of just cut him a break because it's like he thinks he lost the hand. He's not like belligerently going over and smoking and like trying to fuck the game up by like not turning his hand over, right? He's just
right.
yeah, yeah. All right, thanks for the call, Dan. I appreciate it.